So I wanted to create this video for you guys so you could have the tools that you can use to manifest your dream partner. If you're going for a breakup, or you're currently single, or you're second guessing your relationship right now, spaghetti-o, and you really want that person to come in, this is the video that I wish I'd watched ages ago. And right now, guys, I'm 6 for 6. I have 6 people do this exercise, including myself, and it has worked, which is absolutely amazing. It's so crazy. So firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you some things, and then I'm going to share with you a Notion board and a sheet that you can use and download right after this and just fill it out and get really descriptive with that in order to bring in and attract your dream partner. And I'm not kidding. Like, it may be a month, 4, 6 months, a year, whatever it may be, but it'll work. So there's no point going in and actually fast forwarding this video and downloading the worksheet and going through and doing it if you don't understand why or what happened. So I'm going to go through, share with you the law of attraction, how that works, and then I'm going to share with you a couple of stories and how other people have done it. And then I'm going to go through and show you guys the sheet so you can actually use it and put in the detail, because without the detail, it's never going to work. So manifestation works like this. It's sort of like, you know, when you see a yellow beetle.
What the hell are you talking about?
Or something like that. Or a yellow car somewhere, a yellow Mazda, whatever it may be. And then you start seeing that car everywhere. You're like, oh my gosh, there it is, wow. And someone's pointed it out to you. There are certain levels to manifestation. So one is thinking about it. So let's say, for example, you think to yourself, I'm going to start nailing my diet really soon. It's just a thought that you had. Will you actually do it? Then there's another part. Then it's actually visualizing it. Okay, if I visualize myself sticking to my diet, what does that look like? That might work. It might get you a little bit more motivated. Then you can speak it out loud to yourself. I am going to stick to my diet more next week. Oh, that feels a little bit more powerful, right? And then you speak it out to someone who you know. For example, I really want to start sticking to my diet. I'll probably start next week. Then that's more accountability. And you might have to actually go out there and get it done. Then you've got like a social media post or telling a group of people, I am going to start sticking to my diet, blah, 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 in front of everyone. Now you have to do it because you're held accountable. So the level of understanding or speaking about something or talking about it is going to hold you more accountable for it to actually happen. Now, this is sort of similar to how manifestation works and how powerful it will actually be. So saying it out loud, I'm going to find my dream partner, writing all the things down, visualizing it, starting it from the start, and then telling some people is the best way to go about it, or even talking about your dream partner, what it looks like to people, is going to help you in your brain see where it is. And then what's going to happen is, for certain opportunities or who you may be or where you are, either on social media or talking to someone or meeting somebody, like, that person looks like the person that I really want to manifest. And you start talking to them and be like, no, definitely not the person. Or you might talk to someone else and you're going to think, oh, that actually is. And then you start getting closer and you're like, oh my goodness, is this going to be the person that like is my forever person? Like, holy, what the hell was going on here? And that's sort of how manifestation works and how it actually happens. And it's so powerful and it's real. And it's happened for me and it's happened for a bunch of other people. How it happened for me was that it took me about a year to find mine, but I wrote down on this sheet all of the personality traits, strengths and weaknesses, what the person actually looks like. What are the things that I would like to not like about that person? All the negative things. Because when I'm talking to someone, and this is a very attractive trait, by the way, for anyone, is when you can clarify something about someone else and you're talking to them and you ask them a question. What are your relationships like with your parents, or what's your relationship like with food, or something like that? And you're asking them these things instead of saying to them, oh, you're like really pretty, all these things that piping them up. Someone probably hears all that stuff all the time. But someone, when they're finding their dream partner, they need to have the signals from the other person. If they're looking for someone or looking for a relationship or don't know they're looking for a relationship, they need to know the other person's serious about it and that they're scarce and urgent. And I remember in the dating scene for a while before I found my partner and my dream partner, I remember talking to people and being like, no, essentially, like, I don't think you're going to be the type of person, because I don't like your relationships with whatever this is. I don't like your relationship with exercise. I'm not sure about your relationship with parents. Not really like about that. It's maybe a bit too similar to mine. So, for example, one thing with me is I don't mind about the relationship my partner has with her father, because I feel like my masculinity is strong enough to hold that within the container, because I've done the hard work for it. Now, if someone else had the relationship with their mum and it was really bad, I'm not sure how I'd feel about jumping into that, because my relationship with my mum has been a little bit harder for me to work on rather than my old man. So in terms of speaking those things, I'm like, well, maybe that's not the contrast that I'm actually going to want to have. interesting, right? Really interesting and really important. So that when you're actually talking to someone and you pull away, for example, like, oh, and you mention them like, well, tell me more about this relationship with this, individual, because I'm not sure. Like, you could say, for example, you might just not want someone that has lots of brothers and sisters. Like, you may just not want that. You just might not be someone who's a family person, for example. And you're like, no, I don't want to go to family events and things all the time. I don't want to have that. So when you're asking questions about someone before you're making, for example, emotional attachments, and that's not aligned to your lifestyle, and in 5 years, if you're going to every single family event under the sun, you're like, oh, I just don't want this lifestyle. And they really do value that. That can be a problem later on. So when you're originally talking to someone, like, what's the relationship with your family? Are you a family person? Have you got a lot of these different events going on? And you go, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's going to make them also want you more, because that is scarce. And it's like, well, maybe this person's actually really serious about this. And why are they pulling away from me? I thought they wanted to, and it's not necessarily pulling away. You're just communicating your boundaries and what you most want in a relationship. And when you understand and you can see that before making any attachment or getting into something in the future that may not work out necessarily, it's like you're nipping that in the bud. So congratulations for you for doing that. So it happened to me. Essentially, I went through and I wrote down personality types of energy, things that I wouldn't like about the person. And I remember for me, this is like a really good process in terms of attracting your dream partner. And I was like, how much energy do I want to spend within a year finding my dream partner? And for me, building a business and doing all the things, I'm like, that's probably about 5% of energy. So what's that? It's like 20 minutes a day, roughly, I'll spend just on dating apps and Instagram and talking to people. And my thing was, I'm going to sales call them, essentially, like going into a sales call before I have someone jump onto one of my programs. And essentially what I would do was, and by the way, all my programs, if you're interested in them, is getstartedwithcorey.com. But what I do is I jump on the phone to see if I get to know them, like way before, because we think like modern day and age that we need to message people all the time and or just see how they are, and eventually, something might happen. It's like, no, like if you're proactive about it and you're focused, you can really learn. So I get on the phone and then I'd ask them a bunch of questions, deep questions, like, what are you most proud of? What's your energy like? What are your strengths and weaknesses? All the stuff we go through the sheet, because I know exactly what I wanted. And if anything wasn't completely aligned, then that's a no. But if someone was 80 to 85% aligned with everything onto the sheet of my dream partner, I'm like, wow, this is going to be so aligned. Like so aligned, it's going to be so fun. And that's essentially what I did. And I remember with my partner, we got onto the phone once. We did not stop doing phone calls. We caught up for a date. Our date went for like 10 hours long. We caught up at 5:45 in the morning. One of my first questions is what time do you like going to bed? They're like, oh, I'm like a nana. I'm in bed at like 7 p.m. And I'm like, yes. And I remember talking like, for a dinner date, like when we first booked in for a dinner date, she messaged me, she's like, is 5:30 like a good time? And I was like, 5 p.m. ? And she was like, my man. So for me, I was like, yes, the earlier the better, just because I love those things. I'm a morning person. When we caught up, I remember I dropped my friend off early in the morning because he was doing some early morning exercise, and I was going to be early to the date. And I remember messaging her, I'm like, are you ready? Because I think I'm going to be early. And this is like 5:45 a.m. in the morning. And she's like, I was ready 5 minutes ago. I was like, yes, this is my person. So I'm getting all these ticks, right? And I know exactly what I wanted in the relationship. So it's just really good seeing that. But also with the whole sheet that itself, it brought this feeling of like a lot more excitement. It's like, oh my goodness, is this person going to be it? They just keep ticking everything, which is really cool. And then they did. And we had like the best relationship ever since. And all of the things as well, which has been really comforting in like the best way possible, is when all of the things that you'd like not to like the person come up. And instead of going like, oh man, I wish I could just get into another relationship, I could go somewhere else or do something, like I could get someone better, whatever this is, it's like, this is the exact problems that I wanted to deal with, because they're going to make me grow into a better person. Amazing. This happened with one of my clients. I'm going to say his last name, but Joe, he went through this crazy breakup, and I was like, all right, I'm not sure when we're going to find your dream partner, but let's go through and do the exercise. And we did it in detail. And he went through this nasty breakup. He'd been in there for like 1.5 years, and I was feeling so sorry for him. And we went through all this relationship healing, because there's all these things that you can do. I have to create another video on it. If not, you can listen to some of my podcasts, getstartedwithcorey.com/podcast. You can go through and have a look at those, or coreyboutwellpodcast.com. Corey Boutwell Podcast. You can search that anywhere and have a listen to some of my relationship podcasts. I've got one which is called How to Get Over a Breakup. One of my early ones, around the 17 marks, I think, like that. And we went through all of the exercises into how to get over a breakup, and he crushed it. And he was so in love with this person. He was, I couldn't believe how quickly I got over this relationship, but it hurts. And you got to lean into the emotions. And men feel so scared of feeling, men specifically. I know girls, you guys are a little bit better at overcoming your emotions, even though they're intense, but guys like hide that and bury that stuff away. So allowing the hurt to come up essential way of getting over it. And then we created the Dream Girl document, and it's literally, he was like, dude, I feel really guilty because I met this person and she's ticked everything in the list, and I've just sort of tried to make it friends. And I'm like, well, why? And he's like, because it's been like a month and a half. And I'm like, but you've done the healing, man. You've called this person in, and they've been dating now for like a year. They've had the best relationship ever. And they're traveling, connecting. I'm like, who knows when they're going to get engaged? Nuts. I had another client of mine, Aaron, and he just struggled so hard with finding a partner that was right for him. And he did the Dream Girl document. It was so funny. And he met a couple of girls that were tick some of the things. And then he went through and he was like, you know what? These girls aren't matching to anything. So before I get an emotional attachment, I'm going to bail. And then eventually he's like, dude, I kid you not, I've found someone, they've ticked everything, and I'm having the best time. And I'm so proud of him for doing that. Like, literally insane. I also had a guy called Jason. He's like, dude, I listened to one of your podcasts talking about a thing ages ago, and I've completed everything that you've said, and I am kidding you not. I met this person, and we just had this mind-blowing experience together, going to the beach, doing these things, asking him all the questions. I did all the things that you said, and then I went over the document, and it's exactly to the point. And he's like, and now I've got all these decisions to make. So you can get there and you can have this. And I know, like, literally so many people who I've spoken to, even my partner, she did this, and she's like, look at these things that I wrote, which I wanted you to have. And we just like sort of go through back and forth of what we wanted for each other. And it's like, wow, we really wrote those things down and manifested it. And manifestation, not in the woohoo sense, and it's like literally because you understand in your brain recognize what you wanted, you've gone out there and you've got it, which is so fantastic. So, every millionaire makes $1 million, or every billionaire with a really good plan. Every successful athlete has a really good plan. So it's like, well, you can put that into a relationship in your love too. Like, know what you have and have your boundaries. That's what makes some of the best businesses and the best coaches, for example, is like they have boundaries. They're hard to get to, so people want them. So if you know exactly what you want and that one person is there, and you say no to everyone else, is that one person, when they do find you, is going to really value having that experience with you and knowing that they're your partner because they've fit the list essentially specifically for you, and you know exactly what that is because you spent the time to do it. For everyone in my community, because they're going to have this as well, please put all your comments and stuff below. I want to see the sheets. I want to see everything. And everyone else, if you want to send me yours, please, I'd like to look at them in the YouTube comments below. If you want to post there, go nuts. However, for everyone in the community, we're going to talk about this. We're going to go through this. This is actually a module that we're going to be doing in the community. So for the guys in there, this is going to be absolutely wild. And shout out Jason. Can't wait to see yours. Please post in yours in here, brother. So essentially what we've got in here and the community, by the way, guys, is called Set the Standard. You can have a look on Instagram if you want to have a look on there. If you're a female and you're listening to this, send this to your partner or something, like our community, because we're doing all these things, and it's quite amazing. If you do find your future partner, please send them our way if they're a good fit, if they're invested into creating the business and creating huge success for themselves, and they really want to impact people's lives and other people's lives, close to them, and as many as they can. We have the goal, everyone who jumps in the program, our vision is to help them impact 100 to 1,000 other people's lives. So if they're interested in that, get them to jump in our community, getstartedwithcorey.com. So this is essentially what the board looks like, right? And I've gone through just an absolute little draft, and I'm going to go run through some of these things, and I encourage you to put as much detail as possible. And see this, you can sort of go through like this so you can see everything, how it looks here. And we've made all these little toggles so you can see how the person shows up. And then it's up for you to figure out what you want. Don't use any of these. These are just examples. This must come from you. And if you don't know yourself and you don't know your vision and your purpose and your mission and all those things, then that is something for you to figure out for what you most want, because otherwise you're going to get something that you don't want. You'll manifest something that you don't want. This stuff's pretty powerful, to be honest, when it works. Crazy. So this is the template. So strengths, weaknesses, values, relationships, looks, sexually, interests, personality, and energy. So it's their strengths. What are their strengths on the other person? Look up. So there's things to ask the question, what makes someone strong? So independence, purpose, good masculine energy, good feminine energy. Like, what do those things actually look like? What are their strengths? Regular income. They can manage, this was for a female, so we're just going to put this on anyone because this is all partners. Manage their finances. They're really good at those. Maybe you're not good at managing your finances and you might make a lot of money. You'd be like, well, it's good if they did, because then they could help support those things. Strengths could be, either certain personality types or how their brain actually works, qualifications or anything like that. What strengths do they actually have, and put them in here. And then what you want to do is just list them all down. And once you've listed them down first, then rank them to what you think is the most important. Now, this is crazy because these ones here, so it manages finances, right? I'd love to have that in a strengths in a partner. However, I'm really good at managing my finances, so I don't need that. I just value it in someone and like to have a strength, because then we can talk about it and do it together, which I think would be really good. If you know that about yourself, awesome. So before doing anything self-awareness is obviously going to be the most important. You can listen to any of my podcasts or YouTube videos on self-awareness, or you can join the community, or do one of our programs or masterclasses, whatever it may be. Yeah, all the links are below anyway. So yeah, that's how we want to do it. Weaknesses look like this. And just briefly going over this because like you guys have the ability to go in here and spend the time. I'd literally lock out about an hour to go through this and think about it because you want to rank them. Then start listening. Weaknesses, shady relationships with parents. Don't mind about that. That's a weakness. Not as much income as they would like. For example, they're not making the amount of income that I like because maybe I'm strong with income. Maybe I'm not strong with income. Maybe I'd like them to have a really good income. What is that going to be? Grumpy when I'm not giving them the love that they deserve. That's a really good one. Like, that's fine. I can deal with that as a weakness. Gives too much. Sometimes that's like really annoying. Can be quite fiery. It's like whatever those weaknesses are, or may have like a little bit of trauma, or maybe like what are those weaknesses that you can best hold or you think would be, amazing for you to overcome and that you could help that person sort of, I wouldn't say help is the right word, support that person through the process, because you don't want to help the other partner. If you help the other partner, you're attaching too much of your energy to them. Everyone wants to be independent, work out themselves. You don't want to help them. You want to support them and allow them to grow in their own journey. That's a really important point. Values, what do they actually value? Understanding, forgiveness, cleanliness. So around the house, trust, being inclusive, going out and doing nice things. Maybe someone likes bougie restaurants and doing nice stuff, or the person likes outdoors things. What do they value? They value, time. Do they value success? Do they value being punctual? Do they value love? Do they value fitness? Like, what are the values here? Like forgiveness, cleanliness. I really value forgiveness because as a guy, I know that I just stuff up sometimes. I'm like, please forgive me, because I feel guilty about things all the time. So forgiveness is a huge one, like for me personally. So mine is up the top. But it's just understanding those. What are the values that you'd like them to have? List them down and then rank them. Relationships. So relationships with, this someone in here we did is like mum, not the best friend, but have a good relationship. Dad, a normal relationship. I like to have that. Only one sibling. It's on there. So this is really good, really specific. Not the one who initiates girl nights, for example, or friend nights. Or it could be, for example, from a woman's perspective, it could be, the leader of the group, or it could be one of the guys that's, more relaxed in the group and supports everyone. So has good friendship group, owns a business, is a leader, or someone who has, manages a team. Like what are the relationships around them? What are their best friends like? What are their siblings like? Ask those questions and then rank which ones are the most to least important for you in those. Looks, how do they actually dress in here? So I'm just going to remove some of this while we're at it so people don't stay here because this is someone here, but go nuts. Like how do you want this person to actually look and do not feel guilty for it? I'm going to get rid of some of that there, just so that I don't want to trigger anybody. But it's here for looks is be really specific and don't feel guilty for yourself for what you most want in a partner and how they actually look like. What do they most look like? Now, if it's someone who you think, for example, is like, holy, this is what I most look in someone, and then you think about yourself and you think, whoa, geez, I could do a little bit better there. Like myself, that's good. That's going to hold you accountable to get up and start working on yourself so that you look better, so that you can attract that person. Amazing, right? Amazing. So what does that person actually look like, guys? And do not feel guilty or ashamed for putting that down. Now remember, it doesn't have to be 8, it doesn't have to be 100%. You might meet someone and go, you know what, this person actually looks quite a lot different, but they've hit everything else. So, and I'd love to have that. But don't feel ashamed in the meantime. I'm not going to toggle the sexually one, just in case something up here pops up, but don't feel guilty as well. Well, how do you want the person to show up sexually for you? And it might be you have a low sex drive or you have a high sex drive. So what do you want the other person to have? Do you want them to be more experienced, less experienced to you? What's the role that you want to have, sexually? And do not feel guilty for sharing all of those things. List every single one of those things. And what's the sexual experiences that you want to have? Do you want to be opened up? Do you want to be more dominating? Like what is all the things that you'd like to learn in sex and how people show up sexually, and share it. So then you can know with someone, you might meet to someone who's not as sexually experienced as you, and you go, oh good, I'll coach them through it. I've got plenty of time. Like for me, I was like, I want someone younger that I can essentially, I love watching them. For me personally, I know this, I'm not actually going to get into it, but what I like and what I have, it comes with someone who's, a few years younger than me. My partner is 6.5 years younger than me, and that's like really good for me, and I love it sexually. Some people want someone who is more experienced or something else, so it's like, okay, well, what is that person, what's that age going to look like? And get clear on that, so then that And then if you've got patience for things, so some people want someone who want great sex straight away and just want to have that. I'm like, well, I don't really mind if it's good or bad at the start, because I know eventually it's going to be amazing anyway, because I hold myself sexually in really high regards. What are they interested in? Gym training, coffee, beach vibes, the job, whatever it may be, career, like what are they actually interested in? Cooking, loves having people around, music. We're like, what are all the things they're interested in? Write them all down, list them. One to the other one. Personality type, introverted or extroverted, ambitious. Have they got a cool energy, which is more like blue and cool and calm? Or have they got a hot energy, which is like intense and however it is? And then list those down. And then same thing, the energy here is, this one here is like, have they got a mature energy? Have they got an immature energy? Blah, 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 X, Y, Z. So it's all here and you can use all those different things. Now for the people who use this, I'm actually going to delete the points out of sexually and looks. So I can see those there. But I hope you guys found this of value. And if you did, please send it to someone. I'd really appreciate that. Someone who could actually use this and benefit from this. I think that would be absolutely amazing. If you'd like to join our programs in our community or do anything, like please get around it. But this is literally how you manifest your dream partner, get them to come in and absolutely blow your mind and your life away and develop a strong, beneficial relationship. So please subscribe, guys. Please send this to someone. And if you're, if you want to join the community, you can also apply for a call. There's booking links below. So big love, guys. And for the guys in the community, please comment all your stuff below. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to hear it. Let's go and manifest our dream partners. This is going to be the best thing ever.